How do you know if you're insulin resistant? Well, the easiest way is to look in the mirror. What you're looking for is not fat per se, but where the fat is distributed. Anytime there's a protruding belly and you're not pregnant, odds are you're insulin resistant. If you want to put a number on this look, you can calculate the waist to hip ratio. To do this, measure how wide you are around the belly and measure how wide you are around the hips. Take the number you got for the waist and divide this by the number you got for the hips to get your ratio. Now, in this particular example, this guy is not insulin resistant. You would be considered insulin resistant if you have a number bigger than 1. Now, the waist to hip ratio is a crude measure. The way to know for sure you're insulin resistant is to undergo a procedure known as Hyperinsulinemic-euglycemic clamp. It is a procedure, and it is rather an unnatural situation. Briefly, what happens is you get hooked up to 2 IV lines draining directly into your blood vessels. The one IV line pumps in a fixed dose of insulin. Since insulin's job is to put away the groceries, the body responds to this outside insulin the same way it would respond to naturally produced insulin. It starts putting the groceries away. This causes sugar levels to drop. Now, low sugar levels are potentially a big problem for the brain. So to keep this from being a catastrophe, glucose is pumped in at the same time. Exactly how much glucose needs to be pumped in to counterbalance the insulin depends on your level of insulin resistance. If you're seriously insulin resistant, you need less glucose because the insulin that is going in is not doing its job. On the flip side, if you're insulin sensitive, well, you need lots of glucose because the insulin is efficiently putting the sugar away. So glucose is in short supply. The required glucose infusion reflects your insulin resistance. The name of the variable measured is the M-score. Now, the trouble with this hyperinsulinemic-euglycemic clamp is, well, it's time-consuming and it requires a hospital setting, it's expensive, and it's traumatic. So it's not done on a routine basis. Instead, proxy measurements are used. Now, the best proxy for insulin resistance is fasting insulin levels. Now, the reason this is helpful is when you're insulin resistant, insulin levels are high morning, noon, and night, not just in the moments post-dinner. So a high fasting insulin level speaks volumes about what is going on in your metabolism. Fasting insulin levels are not so easy to interpret. So to make the number a little bit more meaningful, it's plugged into one of several formulas to give a final number. The final number is represented as a cute little acronym on the blood work panel. The acronyms include HOMA, which stands for Homeostasis Model Assessment, Quickie, which stands for Quantitative Insulin Sensitivity Check Index, the FGIR, which stands for Fasting Glucose to Insulin Ratio, and the FIGP, which stands for Fasting Insulin Glucose Product. Now, the number is calculated and then it's compared with reference ranges to establish the level of insulin resistance. The problem with fasting insulin levels, it works, but measuring insulin levels is expensive and variable. So although it is the best, it's also not something measured on a routine basis. Are there other proxy measures? Join us for this episode of Better Body Chemistry TV as we find out how to establish if you're insulin resistant using the blood tests your doctor routinely orders. Better Body Chemistry TV is brought to you by Dr. Sandy, a scientist turned gremlin buster, helping you battle sugar gremlins, heifer lumps, and other health horribles through better body chemistry. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health. The TIG index is for everyone. It stands for the product of triglycerides times glucose, and it's also based on a calculation. But this equation uses common blood measurements. You can do it yourself. Start by taking your fasting triglyceride level and multiply it by your fasting glucose level. Now it's important to realize that the units must be in milligrams per deciliter. So if they're in millimolar, you will need to convert them. Don't let the maths overwhelm you. There are several TIG index calculators available online. I'll link to one in the description below. Now, when it comes to the TIG index, the magic number is 4.68. Below this, you are considered insulin sensitive. Above it, insulin resistant. The bigger the number, the bigger your problems. Now, TIG index will give you a heads up that you've got bad body chemistry. But it's not perfect. It's a stand-in measurement. When researchers compared TIG to the value from the Hyperinsulinemic-euglycemic clamp, remember this was what was considered the gold standard for measuring insulin resistance, they find that the TIG index sometimes gets it wrong. 2% of the time, it would not detect insulin resistance in people with insulin resistance. And 3% of the time, it would detect insulin resistance in people who are not insulin resistant. That said, perfect is not required. A heads up is acceptable because at this stage, there's no pill you can swallow to fix insulin resistance. For the most part, you have to wait until something gives. Then a whole host of medical interventions are used to manage the problem. Unfortunately, the odds that something gives if you are insulin resistant is rather high. It's probably a matter of when, not if. And what gives will depend on your genetic predispositions. The list of health problems associated with insulin resistance is rather long, extending from acne to xanthoma and everything in between. So you do want to know if you're insulin resistant because you're a medical problem waiting to happen. Remember, it can happen to you even if you're not visibly overweight. But there is a fix. Hyperinsulinemia is creating the dis-ease. So if you can find a way to rein in insulin, this will bring relief. It might not be easy, but there's a multitude of little things you can do to rein in insulin. For more tips and strategies that will help rein in insulin, download the free Willpower Report. It will introduce you to the Candy Floss system so that you can begin the journey today to better body chemistry and better health. Interested in discovering more ways to create better body chemistry or need a little help getting your body chemistry on track? Visit our website at www.betterbodychemistry.com. Browse our library or enroll in one of our courses or programs. The advice is simple to follow and based on real science, not hype. Know someone who is worried about their health. Share this video with them so they know how to check their status using standard blood tests. And if this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe to our channel to catch future episodes of Better Body Chemistry TV. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health.